City Council meeting today, Monday, April 10th, 2023. And I'll call this meeting. Roll call, please.
District 1, Councilmember Casey.
Here.
District 2, Councilmember Vieira. Here. District 4, Councilmember Martinez. District 3, Vice Mayor Silvera.
Here.
Mayor Lopez.
Here. Everybody please stand and engage by extension. Grace Hall,
Thank you all. It's been a great weekend around Series. Churches were full. We had a great Easter celebration for the Protestant faith. So Father, thank you. Thank you for what you give us here, the place you give us to live, people you give us to live with, the incredible work that has been done by the people that sit here. The way that they care about our city and our families, the way that they sacrifice time, effort, energy, and always looking out for the future. A lot of big differences, and there'll be conversations, there'll be questions, and there'll be difference of opinions and different sides of them. It is always an encouragement for me to see how this group continues to come together time and time again to do what's best for this community, seek what's best, to use wisdom. So we ask that you would pour your wisdom out, they would glean wisdom from the ages, they would have an understanding of that which is true and right and best. They would continue to operate in that way. And Father, help them find peace among one another and unity in this community and to pursue that. So we thank you. May you bless this time, may you give them all the knowledge that they need to make the decisions they need to make. Your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. We'll begin today with a presentation for National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, and Lieutenant Keith, will be accepting the proclamation. So we want to say those to the podium. Welcome, everyone. National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April 9th through the 15th for 2023. Whereas the second full week in April has been declared National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, and whereas emergency can occur at any time that require police, fire, and/or emergency medical services in the city of Sirius. And whereas an emergency occurs, the proper response of law enforcement, fire services, and ambulance services is critical to the protection of the life and the preservation of the property. And whereas the safety of our police officers, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained by related from citizens who are active for 911 emergency system. And whereas public safety and communication are single vital link for our first responder personnel monitoring activity by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety and telecommunications, the city of Sirius can contribute to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas our public safety telecommunications did serve the public in countless ways without due recognition by beneficiaries and their services, each public safety telecommunicator has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now, therefore, I, Javier Lopez, Mayor of the City of Sirius, on behalf of the City Council, Vice Mayor Brett Rivera, Councilmember James Casey, Rosalinda El Piero, and Daniel Martinez, do hereby proclaim April 9th through the 15th, 2023, that National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in the City of Sirius. You know.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I just,
Ms. Roger, and you have a lot of great people. Very dedicated to this city, they want to get inspire and I just want to basically give a shout out to them. And we also have a presentation. This is opportunity status loss and update. Is Dave like in person or on Zoom? Dave, I see.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council, members of the city staff. It's a great honor to be here today to give a report on our services. Economic development services for the city of Sirius. We have a wonderful partnership with the city, and the best is yet to come. But I wanted to give you an update on the activities and plans and the excitement that will be in the future as we move together. If you'll notice that we have a PowerPoint here. It is not Tuesday today. I apologize. Most city councils meet on Tuesdays, so that's my typo. But it is April 10th. We got the right date and not the right. We got the right date and not the right day. So turning to the next slide. We have a partnership with the city of Sirius that goes way back. I've been here now almost 10 years, and we've been working with the city ever since I've been here with the former mayor and council city staff. But I'll tell you, it's never been as good as it is now. We work with Mr. Home, with Tamara, with her staff. We have a great relationship. And we just had a wonderful event a couple of weeks ago where we had a business symposium here in this building. And we had about 120 people show up for that, including 38 Sirius businesses. So that's very exciting, and we look to do more of that in the future. But as an organization, we are an organization that's driven by the private sector in partnership with the public sector to drive economic development in our county. And you can see some of the companies from Sirius that are very invested in our organization, including Rockwell Ryan and others, local companies that are very much invested in us. We also have several companies that we work with on an ongoing basis for economic development projects. For example, Aemetis, which is a company located in Keys, but right next door, is a company that we've worked with very closely over the last few years to help them with their increased exposure to the area. What they do is they take biomass and they turn it into fuel. They're also working with digesters to help farmers and dairy be able to take care of their excess methane gases. And so that's one company that we have worked with closely. Bronco Wine, Dan Leonard, CEO of Bronco Wine, is a very good friend, and Ram Mechanical and others. But one of our main initiatives is called Bolt Institute. If you haven't seen Bolt, we encourage you to come for a visit. It's an advanced manufacturing training center that helps young people get into a better manufacturing career. Now, the one story, I'll be brief, the one story I'd like to share is about the Young Club series. And his story went viral. We actually showcased him at our event in December. His name is Adam Fear. Adam is born and raised here in Sirius. He was out of a job. He found out about Bolt Institute. He applied, was accepted. And within the space of a few months, he was able to get his certificate in industrial maintenance mechanics. He went from no job to a job making $23 an hour. And then a couple years later, his resume was on Indeed, and he was contacted by no other than Tesla. And they saw his resume, they were interested in him, they interviewed him, and they hired him. Now he lives right here in Sirius, making over $100,000 a year after going to Bolt Institute. Now, if you expand that, multiply that by other people going on through the program, you can see the kind of impact you can have locally, have people in those kind of jobs. And we have lots of jobs, hundreds of jobs in manufacturing and other industries or high-paying jobs that go unfilled because the manufacturers cannot find the skill base to fill those positions. And we are very proud to say that we have graduated now 200 people in Bolt, 97% placement rate. Most of our students are getting jobs even before they finish their training because there's such a high demand And all these companies around, these manufacturers, they need people with the requisite skills of automation, robotics, and maintenance mechanics to serve them with capacity. The whole institute has been a tremendous success. We don't, not only do we provide advanced manufacturing training, we also provide leadership training. And so we've done a lot of leadership training with series-based companies. We have a program called Supervisor Development Academy that teaches frontline supervisors who've never been a supervisor before how to interact, how to communicate, how to issue progressive discipline and conflict resolution, all those things supervisors have to do. That's a really difficult transition because it used to be on the line, they're here, now all of a sudden they've been thrust into a new situation. So we provide that kind of training, we provide senior leadership training, we provide agile project management, and all these programs have benefited people from series, and we'll continue to offer that going forward. So Old Institute has been a great success. We also do a lot in talent development. In fact, we've worked with the city of Ceres in helping you to fill some of those key positions that you've tried to fill. We've been working with you on recruitments and getting the word out, and it's been a great success. But we've also worked with all these other companies you can see on the presentation to help them not only find talent, but also how do you retain talent when in such a difficult world where there's so much demand for workers and there are people that how do you keep them on and so we do a program called Rising Tides, we do a program called Best Foot Forward to teach those important soft skills. And so that's been a great success. We have HR research that we can do and offer to not only Ceres companies, but also to the city of Ceres itself. Economic development, and I met Tamara this morning and we talked about economic development. You have a great project, the Gateway Project. It's really making a difference. And now we have new retailers coming in. And we have tools to help you. We have a program called Buxton, which is a psychographic school that helps retailers know where they need to locate their the new franchises. So we help out in that regard. And we also have been working with you on the G3 project and helping to get new companies located at G3. And above all, one thing that my pledge to you is please help us bring new land into entitlement to developments. We have shovel-ready land for companies that are looking to locate. They can't just look at a piece of dirt with no infrastructure in place. Companies today want land that's ready to go, that's totally fully entitled, that has is what we call shovel ready. All they need to do is get permits. It's all been pre-CEQA certified. It's ready to go. And so whatever the city can do to make that happen, then you're going to have even more opportunity in the future. But we've done a lot in terms of feasibility. We worked with Kingspan and their expansion capital here in series and so on. And we're looking at a point. Community projects. We are committed to supporting important community projects going to enhance the quality of life. We're working on a project in Turlock, we're working on a project in Vesto. We would love to work on a project in Ceres. In fact, Tamara and I spoke about that today. What are your assets? How can you really build upon the assets you already have? You are the only city that has your downtown right next to the freeway. That is a huge, if you go up and down the valley, there aren't many that have that benefit, and that's something to really build upon. So we're looking forward to working with you on that. And also working forward, there might be something new that become a series of unique that is not found in the Super Valley. And so we're there to help you with those community projects. We also host the Valley Sierra SPC, Small Business Development Center. The Valley Sierra SPC is partly funded by the SBA, Small Business Administration, partly funded by Opportunities Task Force. We provide free technical business consulting to small business owners. Last year, we supported thousands of small businesses here in the northern part of the valley. We just had that event last week or 2 weeks ago. And so please, by all means, we're here to support. We have 35 consultants that are experts in the field that can provide business support to small business. And we have a team ready to serve you in any capacity. And finally, a new initiative that we just launched this last year is about policy. There's a lot of negative policy, business legislation that's very harmful to business. And we've gone on defense a lot. We're now going on offense through the New California Coalition. This is a group that was started by the Bay Area Council and in partnership with us and other organizations around the state and the state chamber to figure out what are those most pressing issues for business and what can we do about it. So we're taking a deep dive in water, jobs, homelessness, and housing, producing ideas and policy that the state can adopt, hopefully will adopt, to make our state a better place to live, work, and play. And so we're at the cutting edge of that. We're part of the executive team to make forward to bring the New California Coalition agenda alive. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am so pleased to be here today. We love the city of Sirius. We have some board members who live in Sirius, and so we're here to serve you. And I'd love to entertain any questions you might have.
Council, is there any questions from the council? Martinez?
Yes, sir, can you briefly touch on what is the application process for Bolt Institute?
But just have them go to boltinstitute.com and it's all there. The phone number they call, Chris Lewis will be the one they'll talk to, a member of our staff. And what he'll do is invite them for a tour and then show them all the different programs and get them engaged. Thank you so very much.
Any additional questions from the council?
Now I have a question, Mr. State. They're a very good organization, but like so many things, you only get what you commit to. It's a partnership. So you can't expect them to do everything for you. And if they, speaking as a business person in Sirius, they have helped us, and they've helped our management team grow.
Thanks, James. By the way, I can't say enough good about Cameron and Christopher. I work with them both. They're experts. They know what they're doing. And you have a good team here. Alex, the whole team, they know economic development. So we're really looking forward to a great partnership. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Moving on to citizen communications. The city council welcomes and encourages participation in city council meetings. The rules allow more than 5 minutes. Resolution number 2007-106. For expression of non-agenda items. Matters within the jurisdiction of the city council, not posted on the agenda, may be addressed to the general public. However, California law permits the city council from taking any action on any matters which is not posted on the agenda, unless it is determined to be an emergency by the city council. Citizens are entitled to address the city council on any agenda item subject to the 5-minute provision. Anyone wishing to address the city council must adhere to the rules of decorum. Rules of decorum are posted outside the chamber doors. Public period is now open. Let's start off in Zoom. Is there anybody on Zoom for hand raise?
There's no hand raised on Zoom.
Okay, and then we'll look at the public. If any members of the public would like to speak today. You do have a card from the Northwood. This is for the public hearing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please say your name.
Item 11, the item 14. Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Wait, is this not reference item 14, right?
Pardon?
Are you going to speak on the public hearing number 14 or is it separate?
It's different.
Okay, separate, right?
Because you said nothing is correct.
Say that one time, this is public comment.
Yes.
It's communication.
Okay. Chairman, I wonder if you, any programs or funding sources are agree with the Executive 14-985 in regard to the racial ethnicity or the underserved community that executive from the President Biden 2 years ago. And the second one is the Executive 14-166, the living proficiency. Many of you funding sources supposed to, under that executive order, apply whatever language is supposed to be more than 55% of the residents, 50 different languages supposed to be applied to that. Thank you. Thank you, President.
Any members of the public who would like to speak? Anybody else who would like to speak? Seeing none,
We do have a public comment via the mayor team.
okay, go ahead and read it.
It is from Pedro Ramirez. It states, my name is Pedro Ramirez, and I write in support of the action plan for housing money. CDBG and home funds will help honest, hardworking people achieve the dream of buying a home serious. I hope everyone will vote to support these funds or even choose to expand them and help even more people receive this benefit.
Thank you very much. No other emails besides that? Okay, citizens communication period is now closed. Moving on, is there any conflicts of interest declaration? Conflict of interest declaration? No. Moving on to consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar is the continuation and will be enacted by single motion unless otherwise specified by an individual council member or public for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon by a roll call vote. Is there anyone on the council that allows us to have a full further discussion?
Sure. Item number 6, and item number 10.
6, 9, and number 10. Other council members? Any members of the public?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I want my,
Yours is actually number 14. Not on the second one. Well, we'll get to that. We'll call you. Okay. Looking for a motion.
Make a motion to accept item 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, the consent calendar.
Did you say item 5?
It's on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8. the consent.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey.
Aye.
Councilmember Vieira. Aye. Councilmember Martinez.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Silvera. Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Item number 6, register audit demands dated March 22nd, 2023, to March 29th, 2023. Do that.
Dear Mr. Mayor, first, we're approving because it's already been spent. But we have a item on. Some pages and numbers. It deals with the fitness equipment for the new fire station, and fitness equipment for fire station number 1. $33,881.60. And my question is, where did the money come from? And I didn't realize that our fire agreement with Modesto City also included exercise equipment for the fire.
So, the funds were budgeted in this year's budget in Measure H, and, per the contract, we are responsible for maintenance of, equipment and furnishings that are in the fire station.
Yeah, I understood. I mean, I understand it, but I understood it was for fire equipment with trucks, building, and the equipment to fight the fire. This is recreation. You're saying that when we approved the budget, we approved spending $33,000 on exercise equipment for the fire.
Correct, yes, it was listed.
This is a separate item.
Yes.
Okay.
Any members of the public would like to make a comment on item number 6? No hands. Zoom. Okay, looking for a motion. Second.
Make a motion to accept item 6, the consent.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey.
No.
Councilmember Vieira. Yes. Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silvera.
Yeah.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Passes 4-1.
Item number 9, resolution number 2023-43, authorizing the city manager to accept the well 42 design special project as complete approve the balance of contract change order authorizing the filing of the notice of completion and release of intention to the contractor. Okay,
Item number 6, consideration for cancel the second regulatory schedule of city council meeting on May 22nd, 2020.
I think you're, this is number 9. Number 9, you call that. You did 9 and 10.
I didn't read
Oh, that was my mistake, so 9 was my mistake.
it. I thought he did.
He did number 6. So we motion for number 6, so it's 9, and I don't know if you want to discuss. No objection, okay.
Move to, no,
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
aye.
Councilmember Miera. Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rivera,
Yeah.
passes by Mayor Lopez,
I was going to say, yes.
passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, item number 10, consideration of the council, second regular scheduled city council meeting on May 22nd, 2023. Casey.
Sure. Why are we canceling the meeting?
Is that a question directed to the city manager or just general? Could you answer that question?
Sure, the cancellation of this meeting, is being recommended because we have 2 council members, Councilmember Guerra, attending the conference,
Council shopping.
International Council of Shopping Centers, to recruit, and
And there's also in addition to more staff. correct?
That's correct, thank you, Mayor. Also attending will be community development director home, and development manager.
Clarification, we can't have council meeting for,
The council, could have a council meeting with the council.
Members of council, any additional questions?
Is it something that could be, over Zoom?
No, unfortunately, no.
I believe under applicable bill, there is a good cause exception for travel work related. Reason in this case it was city related, so there is that possibility.
Any additional?
and then there's no chance of, I mean, it's an important. I think this meeting is important, so no chance of rescheduling. It happens again.
I mean, I would look to the council overall, if anybody wants to make a suggestion, I personally would rather stick to what we can find this. To be scheduled meeting. This goes back to the public, is there any additional comments from the public? Warren?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council members, John Warren, City of Sirius. The city of Sirius business needs to proceed even in the absence of council members. If we have a quorum of 3, I would suggest that the city's business continue as it should. And if it's really necessary to cancel, then the possibility of rescheduling being later in the week or at another time, so the business can be conducted, or the possibility of Zoom. So there's some options there, but it just disregard the meeting when it really is necessary for the city's business to be conducted, to not happen.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Anybody else? Go ahead. Please state your name.
Hello, Franco. I would recommend that you guys reschedule this meeting if you guys cannot attend in person. There are important matters for us citizens, and given that the planning commission, there's always that meeting. It's not their fault, but we have platform recording and stuff that we'd like to hear, so we like to. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Is there any hands raised on Zoom?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, now, Chris.
And to you,
Go ahead.
and I'm looking to the crowd. As well as, Councilmember Casey, and being one of the individuals that's also going to the convention. I'm okay with Zoom or rescheduling that week, but I agree that, city business does, they come first, and looking at the schedule, it didn't look like there was anything on the itinerary at 6 p.m. But again, I would want to double check to make sure we didn't have workshops. But I'm okay with either way. I think city business, I think.
Now let's go back to you, Lillian. How would that be worded? In making the motion. If the council supports that,
The motion to accept the cancellation or to.
then her suggestion, and you can, Casey, with the emergency exception for city business, that you put to over.
We don't necessarily need formal action in that meeting, and the item, the meeting moving forward as normally scheduled, and staff will work to make sure that it's agendized properly, it's allowed for absent council members to participate. The only caveat to the good cause exception under 32119 requires that you still have a quorum present physically, so we would still require 3 council members to be present here for that meeting. That's the only. So if it's the council's desire to have the meeting move forward, you don't need to take any further action.
Is that the council's desire? So, you know, yes.
My question is, if it is by Zoom, is then with the legal posting, does that need to be on the outside? Or? No, that's we're compliant. It's a good question. So under the original Brown Act rules for teleconferencing, you would have to post your location, open up your location to public comment. But under 2419, you have the good cause or emergency section. In this case, since the council members who will not be present will be traveling on official city business, then you can use that participating remotely without having to go on the official. So we'll just ensure from the staff perspective that it's agendized the way that it needs to meet the code and provide the use of the staff. So the local members can choose to participate.
I'm looking toward you, Casey, that yes. Is that so? This is a consensus, it's not just taking.
So,
The meeting can go on. With the Zoom version.
number 10 is by,
It can, yes, there's no vote necessary unless you want to get.
okay, Zoom.
Okay, so. Alice, here's your answer.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I do have one related question, and we did that, without me, so be right.
Would you like to still make the meetings?
That would be the mayor's choice. It's
Yeah,
not.
I'll run the meeting. Or the meetings? Okay. Moving on to item number 11, this here is a cheap one. Adopting the conference discuss all Irving County consortium for 2023-2024 CDBG and home energy action plan and support the submission to housing and urban development. Councilmember?
I guess, so it seems like there's 2 parts to this. The first one was the annual action plan. When I read through the packet, it looks like the noted there was a meeting March 27th, and I'll probably notify it. I've been notified by the city of Modesto, they're having a 30-day public comment on their action plan before this was for our council. I was wondering why we didn't have that same opportunity, 1 as a public member and 2 as a council member. Why was I just read this weekend? to, because I have a lot of those questions given asked to me this last week regarding the down payment assistance, low income housing, which came up at the last council member and last council meeting, and again, that none of that's incorporated in the action plan. I think that's more of my concern is we didn't allow public comment in this, or was a policy notified? I wasn't notified, any of the other council members are to verify if they were notified about this public hearing to make any changes to the action plan part of this, making an approval of it and submitting.
If I may, through the mayor,
Yes.
we have that community meeting, as typical, we have that community meeting every year. And, that was by the direction of the county, who is the administrator of the consortium. In the future, I'm happy to, do more outreach and notify, the city council and the mayor specifically about the meeting. I think that's a good idea moving forward. So that's what we'll do. And as far as the comments on the annual action plan, we can welcome them at this meeting here. And we follow the directions of the county, who again is they're the administrators of this annual action plan and the consortium. And there will be more meetings at the county level for people to participate and provide their comments as well. So this is not the last public meeting that people will be able to comment on any part of the plan. This plan is important because it provides funding for various CDBG projects and home funds. If the city does not choose to be part of this annual action plan, then we could lose our membership from the consortium. If we're not part of that, then we would have to apply for these sorts of grants on a competitive basis. Right now, because of our status in the consortium, we're able to get these funds without having to apply. They flow to us from the federal government through the Department of Housing and Urban Development at the federal level through the Stanislaus County. So it's important for us to stay part of this group.
Thank you. Are there any follow-up questions, Councilman?
I think that's it now.
Any additional comments from the council? I take this back to the room and invite a comment on this item. Please step up. I have Tony go first. Welcome, please state your name.
Hi, Tony Padua. Just curious, what else has this funding been used for, say, in the previous fiscal year or the fiscal year before that? And if you have an example of something else that this funding could be used for once the city is here,
Okay, through the mayor, this funding, this fiscal year, as well as last fiscal year, has been, we've allocated the CDBG funds to be used for the Morrow Village sidewalk, ADA sidewalk improvement project. It's a disadvantaged community. Originally, this project was chosen by the city council because it met the requirements of the CDBG funding. And as we move forward, there will be other opportunities for the city council to decide what sort of projects the CDBG funds should be used for. The Morrow Village project is in phase 2, and actually it's item 8 on the agenda tonight is awarding that construction contract for phase 2. It's a multi-phase project and we're just about halfway through it. So that will be a major improvement for that area.
I'm not sure if you guys, do you recall what it was used for in the year prior to the last fiscal year?
Probably still Morrow Village. Yes, for at least one more year. It was used for Morrow Village. Before that, I'd have to go back and research that, but I can give you my business card if you'd like to stay to the end of the meeting.
I might leave early. This meeting for me, but so just, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely.
So if you say we're in phase 2 right now with the sidewalks for more. How many more years do you anticipate, how many more phases do you anticipate use these funds for Morrow Village sidewalk? So that it can be completed. If the funding gets approved for this one.
Sure. The amount of funds that we get are not a lot, so that's why we had to phase it. And we're also using in-house engineers to do the engineering work for this project. That was a way for us to be able to do the project instead of do the engineering ourselves. And it's likely going to be 4 or 5 phases, depending on how we can fit the rest of the area and phase it out, and based on the amount of staff time that we can allocate towards this project.
So, one more question.
Go ahead.
How much money do you receive for this per year?
Just over $200,000, I believe. $233,793.
You're doing a higher rate, you're looking for in funding for sidewalk project for Morrow Village.
That's correct. Roughly.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I never forget the mayor, one of the biggest problem we face in this, not in this city, in the county, is the housing issue. Under 2009 to 2014, you accomplished 0 under very, very low income families and families, low income families. And yet, in the middle income, you have 51 units, and the other ones have 50 units for upper middle class families. And the 15 to 33 housing element, you have under permission, you have 0, 0, 0 in the very low income and low income, and yet in the middle class, you have only 6 permits. So that means you are behind almost 3 to 4 years and regarding housing element. And yet you need to spend more money and to work with the different nonprofit agencies like self-help and other agencies to bring very close to your goal. We have James and we have over to the very family. And then we work with class intermediate, the member city council. We have 0 of both. So that's a shame to see that only you looking for more for the business agency and middle class family have homes, but again for the working class, it's 0. But poor people 0. And I hope that you change your mind and start to the city manager working with the planning development and the department, see what funds can be free. You have ARPA funds with over $8 million and use it for something else to bring industry. But the 2020 project for the economic development plan for the county, he never mentioned housing. So how you going to bring good job when you don't have housing? So it's like you live working in Modesto, in San Francisco, you have to live in Modesto with the cheaper house. So pretty soon the people from Syria go to the Bay Area to where they can afford to rent the house or buy a house. Thank you, Dave.
Anybody else like to make a comment? That brings us back to council.
understanding is that if I read this resolution correctly, it's improving both the action plan and the agreement. Together.
The annual action plan covers both CDBG and home funds. Did that answer your question?
Right, but I don't necessarily believe that the public was involved in the action plan, but you want me to approve this, because I don't want to be part of this. But I don't feel the action plan was noticed correctly, and I don't think the public had an opportunity to do this. And that's my concern. It seemed to have one of the radar when you're better, it's hit on page 130 years, my opinion. But it's hit on page 130, it was started to find very small print, and it's given to me while I'm in the actual meeting, so. If I didn't know about it, how can I expect the neighbors to know about it or in my house? I'm completely knows someone here tonight speaking, and so if those two are grouped together, then I can support a resolution that includes capital action. Government more participation in it.
And if I may, just so I can get it right. This was publicly noted correctly as having people attending this,
No one attended the meeting.
so how was it supposed, how did you guys post it?
We followed the county's method of noticing, but what we can do,
So
if you'd like,
before you move on.
yeah,
So you said that you follow the county's suggestion on.
Yeah.
So technically, I just want to make sure that I get it right.
yeah,
You did follow the steps
yes, we
that
did.
would
And
require the board council members asking that we do more.
yes, so I think what we could do is have, if at the council's pleasure, another meeting. And we can get out the word and do better outreach. We will have to have that public outreach meeting and community meeting before May 2nd in order to come before the county has their meeting. So I'm happy to host this meeting again and facilitate it as I did the previous one, and we can consult if we need to, and take under consideration whatever method of notifying the public that's possible.
Okay, bring us back to council for.
Only clarification.
You already answered my question, sorry. Bring us back to council for your motion.
We could,
Make a motion.
Second.
so to continue the meeting 2 weeks.
There's a motion on the table to postpone this for another time,
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah, please.
Make a motion, we can look at it for 2 weeks to allow.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Aye.
Councilmember Viera. Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Solera.
Yeah.
Mayor Lopez,
No.
motion carries 4-1.
Okay.
Mayor, can we take a break? We're having some audio issues.
Sure, let's go for 5 minute reset.
Didn't do anything. Everything. I'm going to restart my presentation so that everyone can make sure that we hear it.
Go ahead.
So we're here tonight to talk about the off-street parking facilities section of our municipal code. This section needs to be updated based on some current situations that we've been made aware of in the last year. The background for this is that currently our municipal code requires that all parking be paved. And historically, we've seen a lot of overflow parking areas at various sites throughout the city that have used paved parking for their main parking. And at times they have a dirt lot that's adjacent to their paved parking. And that dirt lot in these various locations in the city has been used for parking as well as an overflow excess parking area. So looking at this, there's some issues here because since all of the areas need to be paved according to our municipal code, these areas in question are non-conforming. And in order for us to bring them into compliance, staff looked at various options and received feedback from the community, and we looked at other municipal codes to get examples and found that this is the best way forward and the best compromise to find this solution that works for everyone. And that would be to amend the municipal code to allow excess parking areas to be either paved or to be gravel. And if they're gravel surfaces, there's a number of conditions that I'll get into that they would have to follow. I should also note that this proposal is consistent with our general plan. The general plan has a few areas that talk about permeable surfaces and encouraging a site and build design that maximizes the amount of permeable surfaces to encourage groundwater recharge and to reduce burden on existing stormwater facilities, which this would do because gravel surfaces are more permeable than paved parking areas. So like I said, the minimum parking areas, including ADA spaces, will all have to be paved, continue to be paved. For example, if you have a restaurant in most commercial zones, the parking requirements for that restaurant are based on the number of seats. So if you have 3 seats, then you need 1 parking space for every 3 seats. Similarly, if you have a retail commercial structure and you measure the square footage of the structure, for every 250 square feet, generally it's 1 parking space for every 250 square feet. Again, this depends on the zone, but I'm just kind of giving you some examples. And all of those required parking spaces per our code will continue to be required as paved. They'll still be paved. So we're only talking about the excess areas. The proposal is to allow gravel for those excess areas. The gravel has to be uniform from edge to edge. There's a minimum depth requirement, and it has to be kept in good maintenance by the property owner, which means if weeds start coming up, they need to be cleaned out and removed. We also have in these requirements some considerations for stormwater. So if stormwater falls on the gravel area, it cannot be directed onto neighboring properties or onto the street or onto impervious surfaces like an adjacent paved parking lot. Instead, the stormwater has to remain on pervious areas, which means pervious means that the water can go through it. So you can direct water to a landscape area, or it can stay on the gravel area. If stormwater falls on the building or on the paved parking areas, then that water cannot be directed to the gravel parking area. So there's kind of a boundary line that has to be made. And we wanted that because we don't want gravel parking areas to become kind of dual use as like a stormwater retention, because stormwater retention basins have they're still required. It's based on the area of impervious surface. So the engineers do those calculations to make sure that stormwater is retained on site and we're not causing flooding throughout the city. So all of those protections will remain in place. We also want to protect the roadways. We're doing that in two ways. First, if you have a gravel parking area, it has to be at least 20 feet away from any public road. So there needs to be a paved apron, like concrete or asphalt apron, as a buffer between the gravel area and the street. And that will help with any gravel that's tracked by vehicles. That 20 feet will help as a buffer from getting the gravel onto the road. And if there is any gravel that's tracked onto the road or mud, then that needs to be cleaned up by the property of the property owner that has that parking area. If there's any public parking at nighttime hours when the sun is down, then we require lighting. And lastly, gravel parking areas aren't really suitable for landscaping because it kind of defeats the purpose of the way that it's set up. And so no landscaping would be required for the gravel areas, whereas the main parking area with the pavement will continue to have landscaping areas. So staff's recommendation is to approve the amendment to the municipal code for the off-street parking facilities to allow excess vehicular parking areas beyond the minimum required to be gravel surfaces. And I'm available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, council. Do you have any questions for that? Martinez?
I have a question.
1 second, Mr. Martinez first. Mr. Casey.
Thank you.
We'll go to you next. Ms. Martinez, go ahead.
So Chris Brown, I believe I was a part of this issue last year, well, thank you. My question for you is that gravel compacted going to reduce the dust that have a major issue result from that as the dust bothering property owners in the surrounding area? And if it's not going to reduce, will there be, so I guess how we can contribute to the property owners in the surrounding area then?
It's anticipated that the gravel parking areas will be far superior than dirt parking areas in reducing the amount of dust. So you can, I mean, it's not really possible to eliminate all dust. Even a paved parking area will have some dust on it. But this is a major improvement by having areas be gravel instead of dirt lots.
Mr. Casey.
Sure. This, dirt lots, the business has grass and grass. I mean, this ordinance is being changed to modify the requirement for asphalt, various reasons, future use of the land, and all kinds of other reasons. So that the already has grass and there's not going to be an issue. So we have to have an ordinance that is difficult.
Grass areas are not contemplated in this amendment, so they continue to be non-conforming, meaning if you want to have a parking area, it needs to be either paved, or if it's an excess area, then this proposal would allow it to be gravelled.
Sure, and what's the determination excess? And you mentioned earlier the number of parking areas based on square footage. So you're doing this and but if somebody only needs the gravel, not for 2 cars, because that is the excess. Is excess? What is excess?
It really depends on the use, the land use. So every use has a different requirement for parking. And sometimes the whole use requires, I mean, if the use is sometimes the whole use would require paved parking, it just depends.
Sure, and so we talked about the water being with the ground. What protection do we have for the environment that cars that park there leaking oil like crazy? We have any protection for the environment there?
Good question. I think we have a similar issue with a lot of our paved parking areas, but that is something that we could consider.
And then, at the planning commission meeting, I had the opportunity to zoom in, and a question came up, and I don't believe the answer, marking, is it asked, I mean, is this gravel is going to be in where you want to, there's not going to be any control. How do you mark the gravel?
Yeah, we thought about that, and it seems that it would be difficult to mark and have it be constantly maintained. We didn't include any striping requirements in this municipal code.
But again, back to the question, the overflow parking, is it going to be for 50 cars, 200 cars? And if it gets up to that large number, shouldn't marking be part of the work?
It's possible that also some of these uses will have parking attendants to help control and direct people to park in certain areas. Again, the striping wasn't included in this. And there's a lot of different use cases, and we considered a lot of these things.
We're having this meeting tonight to consider zoning changes because things got out of control as far as the city maintaining their compliance, because we just let things happen. So back to the marking, the lighting is of course necessary, but the marking and the oil leaks and stuff like that, should they be considered? And also, should we consider a number? I mean, do we want it? I would that probably the always they always but there are cars parking in there between the coffee shop and the filling station. Not sure whose that is, but so would that property owner be okay to put gravel there? I mean, these are just questions that, again, I think that we're having this meeting because we have weak enforcement, and it should be addressed the whole thing. And I can speak. I mean, I know why most of these people are here, and I support that as much as anybody in the room here. But it brings. I have family and friends that live in Albany, and they make the Sunday trip and sometimes the weekend trip. They come down, they go there, they enjoy it, they buy their products. So it's a very vital part of the community. But we need to address the follow-up to making this ordinance change. Instead of making an ordinance change, it should just be an exception for this and an exception for that. You addressed the lighting issue and the marking. You mentioned that it would only make sense that they have on-site traffic control people. Should that be in the ordinance? And again, we're giving them the opportunity to make a judgment call. So you can't strike the asphalt, and we're going to park again. Is it 25 cars, 50 cars, 200 cars? We should have some in the ordinance to protect. That's my comment for this.
Any other councilman have any questions or comments? Actually, you had your button pushed to go by.
Just regarding, Councilmember Martinez had asked regarding the depth, is there a certain depth of gravel that doesn't need to be put in the ground? Already.
Yes, based on the research that we did, looking at other municipalities, 2-inch requirement for the gravel sufficient. And I should note that if it becomes uneven at any point, that the property owner is responsible for making it uniform and making sure that that depth is maintained.
And then, following up on that, Just because I know we approved some changes over at St. Jude Church, and they have their parking overflow there. Would that then be, since I believe they said no grass, from my understanding with, Councilmember Casey, does that mean that would be gravel and they can use that while they're in the back construction? And areas are blocked off.
You're asking about St.
Well,
Jude Church?
because of, yes, correct, St. Jude's Church has their parking lot as well as Series High School. Just around the corner has a dirt parking lot. And so I'm just wondering how we keep everyone in compliance and just making sure that this ordinance is gonna fulfill those requirements and activities that are also current implementation.
My understanding is that after the St. Jude's Church expands, that they'll have an additional, I think, 124 more paid parking spaces. And that there will not be a need to park on the dirt part of the lot. Actually, part of their future project includes creating a parking lot.
Okay, so this would resolve that issue now, while they're in construction, correct? Because I know they're parking now, maybe there's a large events, Easter, Christmas.
For certain like known events that property owners come to the city and they apply for a temporary use permit or an event permit. And their permit includes some of the things that would help us avoid those nuisances like dust, using the water truck or different things like that on a consistent known basis that is monitorable for that single event. The city could provide a way for that area to be used for parking when it's, again, it's a known thing that we can monitor.
Would that be the same for the high school, since their gated parking lot is closed during session?
I can't speak for that. I just know that that property is not owned by the school district.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes, before we go to public comment, I just wanted to say that, I was on the planning commission when it was initially brought in. And I got to speak, what was more than there is now, people were affected by the closure of that parking lot, how many vendors losing money, how it's affected the community as a whole. So I think this is a great opportunity to help local business, help our vendors, and give us an opportunity to help other businesses down the road, actually, this, so that's all.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council staff? Seeing none. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the chamber or attending through Zoom that would like to make a comment on this item? Members of the public would like to step up and make a comment. Welcome. Please state your name.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. My name is Nelson Gomez. I'm the attorney for, you're aware, this issue was not fun. And it involved my client. And this matter has been before staff and working with my client for a period of time to see if we can find a solution in order to be able to address the concerns of the people and its vendors and clients, as well as those that the city of Ceres had. In working with the city staff, we've come up with some of these items. We're here in agreement with the items that's proposed by staff, this particular amendment. I think it's necessary. I think it's extremely important that we maintain not only a better system, right? Were not considered either by staff or by the city council. So we are in agreement. We believe this is a good change to the ordinance. My clients are more than happy to comply with the requirements of this particular amendment. The only thing that I want to make sure that I believe that all things must be by people. That means that we must, the city council and staff must apply same rules for the people, for the churches, for the city, as for any other business in the city. And we believe that if that's the case, then the city will benefit. But we want to make sure that you know that our plan are going to find the district of change the ordinance. I understand that anyone, there is absolutely no way that you can address all situations. And this particular change of ordinance doesn't address everything, but it addresses the majority of concerns. And so therefore, we feel that because it addresses the majority of concerns, that it is a good ordinance. And we can't look for a perfect. So all I can say, Mr. Mayor, is that we are in favor. But again, we ask that the enforcement of the particular ordinance, that equally for all businesses, all citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? Please welcome to the vote. Please state your name. Welcome.
My name is Cynthia Ruiz. Good evening to the council members and the mayor. I'm a resident of Sirius and I'm also a business owner of South Modesto. I also belong to an organization named South Modesto United. And I've seen how the closure of the parking has really affected the businesses, the vendors that really depend on having a space there, and by having a space, they also need parking. And if they don't have a space and they have to open up their businesses, then we have less customers, and that will decline of the vendors. So, but also by having it open, it welcomes more people, like you mentioned, Councilman Casey, that people from all over the Central Valley come to the other one. And we see how that also affects us as an organization. Once again, as a need, we do events together where we bring in 20,000 people to our Cinco de Mayo parade. And when they think that it's gonna be closed on the weekend or that they're gonna have space, and they don't come down, so we want to keep welcoming people from all over the place to come in and welcome them to our events. So that's why I urge that this amendment, this item number 14. So businesses and customers and people from all over the state of California, the Central Valley, continue consuming and enjoying the event. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Please go to the podium. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jorge Salinas. I'm a small business owner of SDU. And on behalf of this amendment, I really like the fact that it's good, but I also want to give you a little bit of history about me. I was a master tech here. And someone brought up the whole lead protection and all of that. Most people, their cars, they don't have a business in downtown Modesto. And I don't see that many little leagues going in. And when they do have, people want to keep their house clean. So I don't see that being a big concern, otherwise we would have all over the cities, not the cities. So I would say, yes, it's a concern. But why more importantly would be that family unit, that place in a surrounding area. Every Saturday, every Sunday, I see a lot of people with a big amount of family driving, walking down the street near the highway, sometimes in a dangerous place, but you know, when the park is inside of this property, okay, to be able to park out there, people can do this, more security, more business to the city, the more unity to the town. What's the answer? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else like to make a comment? Please step up.
My name is Brooke I'm also a resident of Series, and I just want to make a very quick comment. These business owners and family have been very busy for many, many years. And they have done everything that we can ask to be in accordance with this guidance. Now, all I'm asking is fairness. If we're gonna ask them to go above and beyond, I hope that you guys are the same for all the other businesses in the city who also have the same type of. Because I'm not gonna lie, for a little bit, we don't want to pick on, but there's changes that are being made, we just want to be a part of it.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else like to comment?
Dave Prentice series. You know, before we only had one code enforcement officer and it could cover everything. And a lot of places taking advantage of series and even other communities, same thing. There's no enforcement. Several of us and over time trying to get more code enforcement, we finally got that. And maybe it's when you make regulations, you have no way to enforce it, people take advantage of you. And when they get caught, they complain because others didn't do it for a long time. That's gonna take time, you know. You're starting at the bottom, trying to get back up what when you make regulations and code enforcement's got to do it, that when you got a big city, it's going to take time. And I understand their issue, that's right. But when you have a place that when they know they have overflow all the time and don't do anything about it, now you're gonna have to do something. And I like the idea, but them have to gravel this area to help cut down their on dust and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to make a comment?
John Barnes, City Secretary. I wasn't going to speak to this matter this evening for the simple reason that I know you as a council are going to pass it almost give you the votes before you vote. But the city for a long time has not enforced the rules and regulations that they have on the books, the municipal code, fairly and equally. And I understand these people asking for that to happen. Well, I don't know whether it will or not. It hasn't happened in the past. And you can go down Mitchell Road and see there's businesses and churches on Mitchell Road that have all dirt parking as their main parking lot. And it's required to be paid. That's been going on for 38 years. I have lived here. The property across the street from the high school, that's a nice store. Everybody talks about it, but nobody does anything about it. Our law enforcement personnel are aware of this, our code personnel are aware of it. The property owner is aware of it, and he allows. They're trespassing on that property. And how hard is it for the Syracuse School District to issue a notice to their employees and their students not to park there? It's not poor parking. Obviously, the part of the owner doesn't care, otherwise he would complain if there would be a trespassing problem. Now, soon enough, that will be developed. I know that's on the planning commission in the house. And there's some projects scheduled for that. But it's just like anything else in the city. It's not enforced evenly and fairly amongst everybody. The intersection of Garrison and Mitchell Road is a parking lot that's been dirt out. And it's a primary parking lot, it is required to be paid. Going forward, it is required by our code to be paid. Just a little bit north of that intersection, there's a strip mall kind of thing with some businesses in the back. There's a church in the front. I think it's a Hispanic church. I can't read the writing on the outside, but the parking lot in the front is dirt and gravel and is required to be paid. It's not accepted as the main parking lot for that church. The businesses in the back, there's the income tax people didn't like that back there, they have to pay for it. So these are just some examples of what's going on in the city. Don't create an ordinance that you can't or do not intend to enforce. I understand the problem with dust and dirt, and Road Landing Road, parking has been a problem there since 1986 when I first moved here. We've got parking problems out there. Moms and dads don't want to take their strollers on the dirt and in the gravel. They don't want to take their wheelchairs in the gravel. So what do? They park their car on the street where it says parking and go down to pave the pipe with their strollers and their buggies and their shopping carts and their wheelchair. So consider this when you do that. You've got to have in that ordinance restrictions for parking attendants and the number of parking spaces that are be allowed for the number of automobiles that are be there. This is a commercial authorization. They're going to charge $5 a car. The state doesn't get a dime of that. The state gets a sales tax that's collected by the vendors inside that market. And most of those people do not collect sales. Thank you very much.
Does anybody else like to make a comment?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Barbosa. I'm a vendor at El Montito. I know that you guys were trying to do something for them, but as other people said, I go to St. Jude's and I see that they have dirt there too. I pass by high schools and I see that they have dirt there too. But yet, a lot of people are complaining about the dirt that the Montito's parking is making. But yet, you haven't seen, as a vendor, I go there, I used to go there at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, because I have a taco truck and I was cooking. Yet how come you guys don't say something to the people that have fuels there? They're cleaning their helmets when all that dirt is there at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, all that dirt coming to us and we're having allergies and all that stuff. So yet you guys go and tell everyone people for the dirt stuff, but you guys don't go and have the people that have fuels there and let them know that to do their cleaning maybe at night when there's not a lot of people out of people or something like that. So if you guys are trying to be equal, I feel like it should be equal to the people that have fields there too, when they're cleaning up their dirt and their elements and all that stuff, as if then that they have their parking out there. And a lot of people say, like someone mentioned right now, a lot of people go there from different places. I've known a lot of people that come from LA because of the COVID. A lot of the flea markets down there were closed. They would come here because this Montito is very clean. Also, yes, I see that El Montito was really focused on their employees there as how they wanted us to keep that parking for the vendors there and keep the aid for the people that come in. As a vendor there, I saw that a lot of my business was going down because a lot of people cannot afford to go pay there. So that's just the thing I mentioned. Thank you. But this one
Just for clarification, you say that the entire council thought that was an issue, that's not necessarily true.
Oh, sorry.
Issue was not an issue.
Yes, okay.
Thank you very much. Any other members like to make a comment? Tony, go ahead and be waiting patient. You sure?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that this had a couple of follow-up questions regarding some specific that's in the proposed language. One of them says that was mentioned, I think, by Director of Community Development, Mr. Holmes, that the minimum depth of the gravel needed to be at least 2 inches, and that's what it states on the line 2 under section 2, where the lake access parking. It's in the red print section of the online agenda. I just wanted to urge the council, if it's possible, in the consultation with your city attorney, to change the wording at least 2 inches to approximately 2 inches. Because, for example, this business card is 1 inch and 1 7/8 inches. And so, when people usually, there's a tradition start, a 2x3, roughly. I worry about whether even a one day, a code enforcement officer, you know, might be one to live with possibly 2 and 2, but maybe a different day. Somebody might want to be more heavy handed. I want to be very letter of the law and say it wasn't exactly 2 inches and 8 spots. And so the purpose of being a business friendly, I will work with people. That's usually that would be my one recommendation. And then on item number 9.4, where it defines, I guess it's the word gravel. It says here, the material used for a gravel parking area shall be rock or crushed stone, no more than 2 inches in diameter. I just wanted to urge the council to maybe amend this language to also allow for the use of, what are they calling it now? Ag industrial, bio-industrial products. Let me say it this way. My uncle recently repaved his whole right of way with these crushed walnut shells. And he said they were dirt cheap compared to gravel. And if we're gonna be changing this ordinance to also accommodate whether it's churches, that maybe have, tighter budgets, or whether it's public entities such as the school, to allow them to use, and, this type of material also means gravel. I think it's good enough for people's family homes. I think it should be good enough, to be used in some of these other places. And we're repurposing some of the stuff we produce here, not even against all the eco-friendly, uses, to allow that kind of use of the ag byproducts such as the crushed walnut shells to be specific. I don't want to open up a whole can of worms, but there's any way to, use them. I'm trying to make a pun, but it didn't.
No, is there this one add?
Just the other thing is, I can appreciate some of the comments that, that were made by some of the other council members about whether or not, we're creating a new ordinance and if it doesn't work out in so many words. And the one thing I've always taken from the intent of, in this case, city government, is that your municipal code, your city laws, just like our US Constitution, it's a living document. And the beauty of governing, especially by you all at this level, that you adopt these ordinances and you pass these proposals with the best intent, knowing full well that maybe in 6 months or maybe a year, you might have another room full of people saying, it didn't quite work out the way you wanted, and now we want you to change it a different way, and then you are going to be as responsive as you think you need to be. And so, keep that in mind. I urge you to adopt this ordinance, hopefully with my recommended changes. And allow some of these nonprofits, churches, businesses to continue to accommodate the number one thing that they need to be successful, which is accommodate the participation of the ton of people who need to find a place to park. They depend on those people, and those people get there in cars, and they just need a place to park. So
It makes times Christopher's question, we're not maybe that ground case put down. There's gonna be an initial inspection, but it's not necessary for us to go out and check and see the solution, right?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I figured that.
Then the district are showing that it's also part of the 2030. And I didn't know if that was even something that is considered equal to our occupancy protection process.
I'm happy to answer more questions. I did want to ask if there's any more, if we wanted to continue with public comment before we
We
go
will
back.
just continue with public comment. You got that. So that was one.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm here to support the request for action number 12. Mr. Mayor, I think one of the biggest business that we have in this city, except for the small malls, is the Relatito. So, not only that, this city community have over 56% Mexican American Latinos. And you every Sunday, Friday, Sunday, it's full of people not only from this area, but from Sacramento, San Jose, you name it, a lot of people come and bring a lot of business to the city. And I think that need to be pointed out. At the same time, we need to respond to the request that business is very important for the city community. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment? Go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to take some time to speak in support of this thing. Just to reiterate what I'm hearing from everybody. I have family that comes out of my home, friends that places, horses, dogs that come to this, on a weekly basis. And in addition to that, I think the ordinance as it stands, places an undue financial burden on any business that may just become successful overnight, by forcing them to put cement in the parking lot. And if you're not going to amend it, to definitely enforce this evenly throughout the city, if there's to be fines involved, and you better receive, fines across the board. And yeah, it's, what happened.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment? Seeing none in this room, or about, everybody with their hands up,
There's no hands raised,
no emails?
No.
Okay. With that being the case, period is now closed, I'm bringing back to the council. With the additional questions, we did have two questions on the board. With the first question, the fourth question of it. Answer for me.
The city's stance on code enforcement is complaint driven. So we wouldn't go around looking for problems as far as this parking is concerned. Obviously, if there's like graffiti or something like that, then we want to act on it.
So we're not going to hear, saying that the gravel is not too vicious, that it's complaint driven, we're not wasting our time.
When there's getting a little bit of feedback. When there's a complaint, for example, about dust, or some significant issue, and we're able to observe it and then we can act on it. But if there's existing sites throughout the city, I mean, there's a lot of different things that we have to focus on for code enforcement, and probably too many laws are being broken throughout the city every day that it's hard to keep track of. But we do our best, and we go after our priorities. I hope that answers your question.
No, yeah, that's fine. And I know Council Fisher had a question.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have a question.
Here, if you want to finish. Sorry.
Just following up regarding the ag biofinance training was part of the 2030 incentive or ready for the county. I didn't know that was an option on the same. That's that crowd.
So,
Are you asking that question, or are you?
Yes, but that would be a reasonable alternative. It means the state. That's what this is, because I know it's part of the 2030 bid, which is for ag projects to be used, increased in that area.
I think adding that as a suitable alternative could be possible. I'll have to defer to the city attorney to see at this point, since we've gone to city council, and I should have a little disclaimer here that there were a couple of very clerical corrections that were made after planning commission. But nothing substantive, but as far as adding an additional option for an agricultural byproduct to be used or some other substitute, would we need to go back to the planning commission?
No, the planning commission issued a recommendation. About finding text of ordinance. So if it is a council wish to make language adjustments, my recommendation would be to include that to our commission for introduction and first reading.
First, we'll have information to go on, subject. Do you have any information on that about
I think it would take more research, but I think that a suitable for the purposes of the first reading, it could work if we changed. This is item 12, the attachment and the resolution that shows the ordinance changes in red. Number 4, we could add the words so that it states the material used for gravel parking area shall be rock, comma, crushed stone, comma, or suitable alternative material.
Who would determine that suitable material?
So that's the research that we have to find out. And if we want to be more specific, we can, we could instead say durable or agricultural byproduct. As an alternative.
Mayor, if I may, your question. Specifically, the language for this ordinance provides some flexibility and discretion to the community development director to carry out the intent of this particular section. So that is language to work into it as well. It is a council designer.
That language already exists, you're saying?
The community development director may authorize subject to the requirements. So we could probably maybe just add the language or other suitable material as included by the community development.
Right, I would rather do that, meaning you don't have enough information. I want to get that kind of. Okay, now, the additional questions on the council. Okay, so we're okay. Go ahead.
I just want to make this comment to the audience, thank you for all being here. The city would run much better if you came to every one of our council meetings and the planning commission meeting. I also would like you to know that the attorney mentioned started last summer. Actually, this project's concern rather started in October of 2021. And you have the support of the city's staff, you have the support of the federal and statewide representative. Know that because they called me personally and asked me to lay off. And all I'm trying to do is have the operation on active code operate under the laws and ordinances of the city of Styria. That's it. Everybody wants every business in Styria to succeed, but there are ordinances that need to be upheld. And the cities work very hard not enforcing as many as they should or could. It's, you know, again, thank you for all coming. And commission list was canceled. Be involved with the community, and then series will be a much better place to live and work. Thank you.
Any additional comments and questions from the council? Okay, let's go ahead and move forward.
Move to ordinance 2023-1075, adding a language.
Let's go.
So I would,
Other suitable material.
what I heard was for item 4,
Yes.
the material used for gravel parking area shall be rock from the crushed stone. Alternative materials as approved by the community developer.
You got that?
So
Is it possible to have like a change to, to add the word approximately change it?
My recommendation is to keep the language the way that it is. Because then the question becomes upon the first inspection, if it's below 2 inches, how much below 2 inches is acceptable? I think this has a little more for the first inspection and approval, and then when they requested it, then the community development director has requested. It's not, I don't think it's the city's intent to go out and measure it. But this for this initial inspection, having a very concrete requirement is preferable. We can change it, the council can change it if we want. My recommendation is to keep it.
Say we keep it as is, if it comes up, and we should use it, we should not do it, force it.
Can we put in there, it's just an idea of maybe saying at first inspection, it must be a minimum of 2 inches or that's. Okay.
Second. Very much.
Can you just be clear what the motion is one last time?
Or balance state, please, once again, Mr. Vice Mayor, please. Moving to the motion.
Move to approve ordinance 2023-1075, including the language.
Or alternative material as approved by the community.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
I thought this was a public hearing, and we're going to run the second public hearing. I didn't know we were going to work on this. This is for two public hearings.
It is council member, so the process is for introduction and first reading, the council has to move this ordinance for consideration for introduction and first reading. That's the most normal. It will come before the council for a final vote and adoption at a committee.
So this is not on.
Correct.
Okay. Aye.
Councilmember Vieira. Aye. Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 13, resolution number 2023-45, approving an updated amendment to the fire prevention user fees for plan checks, inspection, permitting, and surveillance activities. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do a 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back to this item. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're unmuted now.
Thank you very much, everybody. We are now back. Thanks. We're on item number 13. This is resolution number 2023-45, approving an update and amendment to the fire prevention user fee for plan checks, inspections, permits, and miscellaneous activities. Christopher, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Pulling up my presentation now. Change the color on this one to red, closest color I could get to the fire truck. All right, so we're talking about fire prevention user fees. The last time that we had an update to our fees was in 2011, so they're due for an update. In 2021, the city of Ceres Fire and Modesto Fire went into an agreement to merge. And when that happened, the people that now do our fire inspections and our building permit plan reviews on behalf of fire are Modesto Fire employees. A number of years ago, Modesto Fire adopted their own fees after doing some studying on what those fees should be. And it includes an inflator, which is every year there's an increase based on inflation. And what we're proposing is to match their fees because two reasons. Well, there's a few reasons, and I think they're on the next slide. So let me just go there. But first, I should note that these two other bullet points here. So according to our agreement with Modesto Fire, the city of Ceres pays Modesto Fire for all these services that they provide. We pay a fixed annual fee that so it's not based on the volume of fire inspections or plan reviews. It's just a fixed amount. And according to our agreement, the fees that we collect for doing for that work to be performed, the city keeps those fees. So in order for us to have a better cost recovery, we need to update our fees. And I should also note that according to our agreement, the only types of activities that per the agreement, that Modesto Fire keeps the fees is for field fire flow tests. So the recommendation here is to adopt the Modesto Fire fees. And as I said, Modesto Fire already did the fee study, and those employees are the ones that are performing these activities. So it's based, so it matches the fees that they have, and the fees that we're proposing also match like the amount of work and the cost, the recovery that would need to happen based on those employees. Also, local contractors are familiar with Modesto's fees, and they're used to them. So by us having the same fees, it's more uniform. And whether someone is building a house or building a restaurant in Modesto or in Ceres, at least the fire fees would be the same. This helps with just having a local economy here that's more predictable for builders and developers. This would also help us more accurately recover our costs, and it includes an annual cost of living adjustment. This is important because, as we know, with inflation, everything gets more expensive. And as time goes on, we have, the city's, typically the city employees' wages, just like wages in the private sector, go up over time. And so our fees should also go up over time because it's based on the amount of work that we're performing. That's why they call them user fees. So the staff recommendation is to approve this resolution and to update and amend the fire prevention user fees for plan checks, inspections, permits, and miscellaneous activities. I'm here with Chief Wise if you have any questions.
Does the council have any questions? No, okay, so please go ahead.
Christopher, what is the recovery would be?
That's a good question. So in the packet, there's a fee schedule and there's an assortment of different types of activities. So for example, a site plan review is $168 per plan. And a fire alarm system test and inspection is $190 per plan. So all of these different fees are based on the amount of time that it takes to do these different things. And we don't have an exact matchup between our current fee structure and the Modesto fees, but city staff and Modesto fire staff got together and we did an analysis on the most frequently and most common types of inspections or plan reviews for the most normal kind of typical developments. And we did kind of a weighted analysis of how much the fees would change, and we can reasonably expect that our fees will go up as they match Modesto Fire's fees. So there will be a revenue increase. We don't know exactly how much that's going to be yet, though, and we'll be tracking that and we'll monitor it, and we can give you an update in the future. But it's reasonable to suspect that it will go up.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, we now open this hearing to the public. Is there any members of the public who would like to make a comment on this matter? So, hello, Michael, again, City of Sirius. I would really like to speak out against approving this amendment. Mr. Holmes already mentioned that this is a fixed rate that is not based on how many checks they go out and move the field. It's more of getting the investment back from the community. So to me, it just seems like a cash grab for to build up our revenue. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just from previous decisions that we made, I think we spent $120,000 on a gate robot that makes line in a field that's really covered by fences. To me, that didn't make sense. And also earlier today, they mentioned that they're spending $30,000 on gym equipment. So it just seems like an unnecessary grab that will likely be spent on something that's system for council. That's it. Thank you. In regard to this first comment, as far as at the moment, the staff is working on any of this, the rate is not feasible. That is good. Anything correct? Because there is a stat time.
Yes, and in order for the city to operate and be sustainable, we have to cover our costs. So if we have an employee that's performing service such as fire prevention service to make sure that a building has a working and reliable fire sprinkler system that will save lives, then we need to pay that employee, and we need to have a cost recovery system so that we can pay that employee without it burdening the taxpayers by creating more taxes. So in order to have a better cost recovery, it's important for us to have that kind of match. And right now they're not exactly matched because the people that are performing the work are Modesto Fire, and if we match their fees, then we'll have more accurate cost recovery.
So there's an offset to who pays the offset. Who's paying the offset?
So without doing this proposal, then the city would be subsidizing development as it occurs.
So
then it lays on the taxpayers.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Is there anybody in the public besides both in this room that wants to comment? Seeing none, I just want to make sure on Zoom, if you have any hands raised.
There's no hands raised on there.
Just want to refer to email, Mr. That we the staff, typically we will hear We also will hear from the building industry, and representative of the district, specifically, John Beckman. I think Mr. Hope has been in contact with him. And from this, or paraphrasing, that Mr. Beckman was happy with our mirroring of testifier. And typically shows opposition to increase of fees. I think this. Building.
We have more public comments. Bring it down close. Additional questions?
Mr. Horn. Portable vending equipment. What is that? Aqua trucks. The rest of that.
I have to admit, I'm not an expert on picking out which fee is appropriate. I leave that to our fire marshal's office to help us with that. And I can get back to you on that if you like.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Seeing none.
Move to approve resolution 2023-45.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
No.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yeah.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion carries 4-1.
There is no new business, so we'll move on to discussion items. Item number 14, discussion regarding city revenues.
This. The mayor.
Yes.
It's taken us unfortunately a little bit of time to put this together, but I think the timing is good, as we're in the middle of our budget. So really, the purpose of the IMC meeting is to provide, I think, what Letitia is called, everything you ever wanted to know about revenues, but we're afraid to ask. It's a bit of a municipal finance 101. I think that that goes into the budget, creating a sustainable revenue picture. So what we want to just try to do is go kind of margin. Use of these like the agenda. And in the council. 12.
Good evening. So tonight I want to present an informative and not at all overwhelming discussion item regarding city revenues. So tonight's discussion topics will be the different fund types that the city has, general enterprise and special revenue fund, along with the revenue sources with options for additional revenues. So the city's primary operating fund is, of course, the general fund, the fund we're most interested in. And it is used to account for all revenues and expenditures except those legally or administratively required to be accounted for in other funds. The revenue sources of the general fund include sales tax, property tax, utility user tax, franchise fees, federal and state grants and user fees. And the expenditures that come out of the general fund include public safety, police and fire, the city manager, city council, human resources, engineering, city clerk, finance, public works administration, and parks. So this pie chart reviewing the general fund revenue by source type. Um, 73% of general fund revenues are come from taxes, sales tax, property tax, etc. 6% comes from licenses, permits, and franchises, that being building permits, cable, PG&E, garbage franchise fees. 1% of it comes from the use of money and property and fines and penalties, which the use of money is like rent of the Legion Hall or rent of the city property. And fines and penalties are usually utility penalties, parking fines, and other miscellaneous fines. The intergovernmental revenue accounts for 6%. That being revenue from other agencies, either fire districts, the school district, state and federal grants. The charges for services account for 7%, which comes from recreation fees, plant fees, police reports, and the transfer from other funds accounts for 7%, which comes from the transfer from the community facilities district or from Measure H for the fire loan payments. This pie chart is the general fund expenditures by department. 75.8% account is accounted for public safety, police, fire, code enforcement, records, and dispatch. 10.5% of the expenditures go to public works and engineering, and 13.7% go to city administrators, city council, city manager, finance, building, human resources, planning, and recreation. So, along with the general fund, the city has enterprise funds, which the water and the sewer fund are our primary enterprise funds. They are used to account for the costs of providing water and sewer services, and are funded by this water and sewer rates charged to the residents and the businesses located in Sirius. In an effort to provide a sustainable city water and sewer supply for the future and to have the ability to make system improvements, utility rates must be analyzed and adjusted periodically. This requires a rate study to determine the appropriate rate, and a majority protest process as governed by state regulations enacted by Prop 218 is what would be required to increase those rates. For reference, our last water increase was approved in 2017, and the last sewer increase was approved in 2013. And this slide will describe the 218 process. Under 218, in order to increase utility rates, the city must conduct a majority protest process and not a ballot measure. This is accomplished by sending a notice to all affected property owners and ratepayers of the intent to adopt rates and the date of the hearing where the new hearings will be considered. The notice must be sent out no later than 45 days prior to the hearing date, and those who wish to protest the change must submit written documentation of their views before the completion of the hearing night. If the city does not receive written protest from the majority of the property owners or ratepayers, then the fees may be increased. Another type of city fund is the special revenue funds. These are used when there is a need to provide separate reporting of revenues that are restricted to expenditures for a specific purpose. Examples of restricted revenues include special taxes, grant funds, and special district fees levied on properties. Measure H and Measure L are both examples of special revenue funds. Measure H is the one half cent transaction and use tax approved by the voters in 2007 to fund additional police and fire personnel and equipment costs. And Measure L is also a 1/2 cent transaction and use tax approved by its council of county voters in November of 2016 The funds are distributed to the city through Stanhope and are to be used solely for transportation projects. The state gas tax is also a special revenue fund. It's an excise tax per gallon on vehicle and aircraft fuel. And use of the revenues are restricted by the California Streets and Highways Code for research, planning, construction, improvement, maintenance, and operations of public streets and highways. And the Community Facilities District is a special non-ad valorem tax imposed to fund public capital facilities and services in connection with new developments. This does require a 2/3 vote of the property owners to be approved or to be increased. Next, I will go into our primary revenue sources for the city. One of the big ones is our property tax. It's a tax imposed on real property and tangible personal property based on the assessed value of the property or item. The annual tax rate is 1% of the assessed value, and the assessed value is capped at the 1975 to 76 as the base value, plus the change in CPI or 2% of differs less. The assessed value of real property is reassessed to full current value upon a change in ownership. Another big revenue source of the city is the sales tax. The current sales tax in the area is 8.375, and the breakdown is listed here. The city receives 1% from the local tax. They also receive the Measure H, a half-cent, and Measure L. Sales tax rates may be increased by a general tax number or a special tax number, as in Measure H and Measure L. Utility users tax. This tax goes into the general fund as a tax imposed on utility bills. The current utility user tax rate is 3% on the monthly telephone, cable, electrical, and natural gas services. An increase to the utility user tax rate would require a majority voter approval. The transient occupancy tax is also a general tax imposed on the occupants of a hotel or motel for the privilege of occupying a room. The current TOT rate, which became effective July 2016, is 10% on the rental rate. An increase to the TOT would require a majority voter approval. Solid waste rates, similar to water and sewer rates, solid waste rates are charged to the residents and businesses located in Ceres in order to provide adequate services. These are accounted for in the general fund, and the rates must be analyzed and adjusted periodically per the 218 process. The solid rate increase was approved in 2020 and will increase annually until 2025. User fees, and these are, for instance, the fees that were just approved tonight for fire. It's a fee paid to the city by the person receiving the public service. The amount charged is limited to the estimated reasonable cost of providing the service, including overhead. The estimated reasonable cost is usually determined by conducting a fee study to calculate the labor, materials, and indirect expense costs to provide the service. Examples of user fees include park rentals, recreation programs, plan check review, zoning review, business license application fees. The last fee study was conducted in 2002. You may want to consider a fee study to ensure that the entire cost of providing the services is being captured. Development impact fees are fees charged to developers to compensate for the new demands on public resources resulting from the development of land and property. Examples of public facilities that have been supported by development impact fees include streets, traffic facilities, recreation facilities, and health and safety facilities. The last Nexus study was conducted in 2010. And again, this you may want to consider conducting a study to ensure that the impact fees are sufficient to cover the demands on the public resources. The city has two community facilities districts. formed in 2002 and 2006 to finance public capital facilities and services. The tax is used to finance the purchase, construction, improvement, expansion, or rehabilitation of any real or tangible property with an estimated useful life of 4 or more years, 5 or more years. The maximum assessment may be increased by the annual percentage increase in the CPI not to exceed 4% and is assessed on the property tax roll. And lastly, our landscape and lighting district was formed in 1987 to fund improvements to street lighting, street trees, and the landscape on the exterior of access control fencing. The maximum assessment may be increased up to the actual cost increase or the annual percentage increase in CPI, whichever is lower, and is assessed on the property tax roll. So I know I've given you a lot of information, I think when I've overwhelmed anyone, and I look for any direction you would like to give or any questions.
Council, do we have any questions? I see you put it in the press, Ms. Vieira, you have the floor.
Yes, my question. Regarding 218, Proposition 218, when it put the notices out to the majority vote, Proposition 18, does it actually go out multiple languages or does it only go out in English? They don't have multiple predominant languages in the city.
I believe it goes out in English instead.
And then, Fisher H, it also includes services, correct? I think we had approved the contract for the police department to use a software that just covers services. They did that behind here.
Measure H covers fire services.
Well, both services for both departments. They both cover, so I just didn't see that outlined in here. It does cover some. Where something that was really out. Yes. And then, regarding if we were to want to adjust if the TOT to be equivalent or equal to those surrounding cities, would that require a fee study as well, or is that something that we would be able to?
It does not require a fee study, but it would require a majority vote.
If we require,
Mr. Casey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The sales tax is collected on gasoline. Is that going to, that sales tax only you road or is that part of the general stuff?
The gas tax is only used for street service.
I mean, in California, nobody charge sales tax on top of the road tax. No.
On fuel.
The other question is, we have, what, 2,800 displaced people. How do we monitor what the fees, correct?
We have a service, Avenue Insight provides our business license services for. They know, we set up what our fees were, we set those to them, and so they have it set up to collect the fees for the businesses.
And then the other question is, besides the basic business tax, some of the businesses have people tax on top of that. And is that audited?
Are you talking about the downtown revitalization?
No, I'm talking about when business pay a tax on the revenue that's being generated by that is besides the basic business money. Is that audited ever verify their revenue that they're reporting is the correct revenues and the checks and balances?
We do not audit businesses, no.
So, council, after reviewing this long list of items, is there anything that you guys want to add in regards to whether these are some things that interest the council, or is there any additional ideas for the council we have?
I have a comment. Decades updates we have.
My question would be is how do we direct staff in regards to all these potential ideas in regards to as long as.
If I can chime in, and just to follow up on the vice mayor's comment, and just to follow up on that, I think what you would see from the staff is a recommendation to do a study in the near future, as well as a impact fee study, to adjust, potentially adjust those fees. So each of those back to you as the council, plus the authorization to issue an RFP, issue an RFP for each of those studies. Depending on the level of outreach and engagement with the community, because I think we definitely want to engage on the development impact study and development. Could be even longer, use of fees. About a year long process. Very staff intensive, we work with that consultant to really get granular. That was spending activity that's associated with the use of that could be very labor intensive, very staff intensive. That's the staff's recommendation that we do those two activities in the very near future. Really, I see that as a package deal as we inch the city towards financial sustainability. Those two studies are really important in that effort again to reach financial sustainability.
Could they also include the sales tax or measure? That's what I'm reading the language of this.
We mentioned. So, amongst the board, the user fee study and the development impact fee study. If there's an interest in the council to explore the possibility of a sales tax measure, that's, you hear me say often, very process oriented. And again, that's a pleasure of the council. If there's an interest in that, I think what these staff will do is come back to you with an agenda item that will outline the process. That process, you use the council the opportunity, and then community the opportunity to discuss the potential for sales taxing.
I think on these 63, for example, the community input is of the utmost importance, whether or not this is something that they want. I just want to, there's a couple of things on here, I don't know if they're in the council floor side at all, besides the three things you just mentioned.
One more comment. The ability to recoup a lot of the staff time and is very possible with a fee study. So I guess the easy way to say it.
And Vice Mayor, then I think Mayor, you had a question on the last item.
Yes.
So when the fees have not been adjusted over a period of time, what you begin to get in the situation of is the general fund subsidizing.
Right.
If they say the general fund, they say the general taxpayer. So the general taxpayer, subsidizing that individual's fee income. Paper that's released at the county. It's really a policy decision in the council. Does the council want to provide a general subsidy? If the council wishes to do that, we would provide the information to do that. recommend, that the council go in that direction, again, this policy.
Right. Council. What was your design? I'll give you, I'll give you the opportunity for public comments, we'll make sure, can we just hold off on that and see what you have to say? Go ahead, sir. You want to comment? You go, you do now.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under the report in page 159, 162 for the enterprise funding for water and sewer fund. Mr. Mayor is very questioning regard under that page 159. He said the current financial position for 2022-2023 is $85 million across all the funds. The question behind that, Mr. Chairman, is for Mr. Mayor. The question behind is the water have a supply funds of close to 42,350,430. And for the sewer system, it's 23,289,580. And the total is over $65 million. How that respond to the $85 million for all the budget proposed for the year 2020-23? I think the question behind that is in the 1 pages in 162 say that under the recommendations, result of the recommendation is not under the final impact as the currency not for implementation. However, if it is decided within a rate or study fee, and then necessary to be a proposal. And then the other one say for the environmental review is none to step following approval none for the community public participation none. So very contradicting and regard to now the city manager and a few members of the council. I think the vice mayor said is need to do some study. One, the last report is 2013. And the other one 2017. The one is for over 8 years, and the other one over 6 years. But the question behind that, if you have $85 million for all the funds, how can you have $65 million? So very, very confusing, the report to match what fund you really talking about.
Do you understand the question? Can you be specific on what the question is? You think that
The question is you have for the finance for the fiscal year 2022-23 is $85 million across all the funds. Now you have a reserve funds over $65 million compared to 85 you say. So what really is the one is someplace fund, or the other one is not the total fund, it come out with over $65 million from you decide. That's the question.
so are you saying that you feel that the estimates that she provided are incorrect because there's a gap?
Yes, that my perception is sure, because I think you have overall funding for 2023.
Si me permites un segundo, me puedes explicar en español específicamente lo que está preguntando.
No, te lo puedo decir en inglés, señor.
No te entiendo muy bien.
Bueno, las asistentes, si tú tienes $85 million, todos fondos que estaban 20,
Dice, yeah, $85 million.
85.
Okay.
Y tienes tú para el año 2022, 23, 10, 85 millones. Pero a la misma vez, es otro reporte que dice que tiene una reserva de 75 millones.
So then you're referencing the reserves saying there's $5 million.
So they're not part of the overflows.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, the report says that over all the funds of the city, we have $85 million. The water fund and the sewer fund combined are 65 million of that 85. So everything else is the 20, the remaining 20 million.
Does that make sense?
All other funds, the
Okay.
600.
That was the, and then report. In our specific,
Is there information on?
yeah, it is, you see, that is very confusing because you see the overload is 85, and then you come up with 65 or reserve. So what it is, it's getting.
You find separation of funds, right?
The city has about 100 different funds. 2 of them are water and sewer. And those together have $65 million. The rest of the funds make up the other 20 million, so the total city is 85 million.
Oh,
That makes sense. I just want to be sure we're on the same page. I don't want you to be confused. But does that help you out?
I'm not confused.
Okay, no, that's. Thank you for the clarification. Anybody else have a question? Anybody else?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Do you have any questions or comments? Or we're looking at the.
Yeah, so typically I would be supportive of increasing rates for funds, but some of these frequently go down. That's not wrong. They've been study being conducted, and we've, figured out a gauge where we can either collect the speed. I realize our data is doing this, like, seeing where we're at, maybe gradually increasing it to get towards the day standard.
Want to be fair, I mean, how many times total are presentations here that you guys is on? This.
Primarily information, opportunity. Direction of the town. To follow on the council comments, recommend for study, development. That the council has interest in, seeing some more information on the sales tax measure. I think we could bring something back to the council, regarding what that would look like. Unfortunately, what we try to do is outline the different revenues for the. And it really, the level of services that we are able to provide in the community really makes. If there's interest amongst you as a council to enhance services, provide additional services that run the range of the services that we provide outside the enterprise funds. And really the primary sources of revenue to accomplish services will outline for you as the council this community. Those are property tax, sales tax, utility user tax, DOT. The primary item that you might consider looking at is the sales tax. That is a process, and if there's an interest, we could definitely bring back more information to you to consider, if you would like.
I think there's a desire, but the question would be, would it be more?
They can close another comment.
So, and now, if there's anybody else that had a comment. I want to make fine. Would it be safe to say that we, after the budget hearing, that we bring these items back so that we kind of see where we're at, the recommendation, or is there some kind of a timeline that you go on this?
I think we can do it in the budget process. I think so. The next opportunity for a potential sales tax measure would be 2024. Depending on which we're if there's that direction. It's fairly It's a lengthy process. Forward, there's several kind of checkpoints in that process. Or the individuals may will want to consider whether or not to move forward. But as you are considering that process, you're definitely want to be a community, so you want to allow enough time to do.
Okay, and then this is very, but there's very patient. I wasn't sure if anybody has any points up sure.
Okay, concur with our vice mayor, definitely, interested in user fees. And at this point, I'm not overall in the city, but we would have to be really good reasons why. I think we need to try to save their. Like that's proposed, but I'm interested in addressing the fees and adjust it to address the actual cost. Implementing the services.
Ms. Councilman, would you like to bring forward some information in regards to that? So that you can make a more informative decision.
At this point, again, like I said, until I see the budget, but at this point in time.
I'll suggest that you take a look at everything and then dig it all. The revenue source that is now. I say yes or no.
Sandy,
I'll comment. I would like to be further.
I agree with Vice Mayor, to be able to further along the process as well.
I also agree with the two gentlemen, and council member and vice mayor.
So there you go. So for the first two items first, and then we'll see if we want to consider the tax. Okay, that being said, I think we are done with this discussion. Item. Moving on. Moving on with my two referrals, item 15 and 16 are kind of the same, one and the same. The goal behind bringing this item to the as a referral was to display the county portraits for the council members and also mayors outside of these chambers. I think it's important that people walk into the chamber, they see the historical value of our city. And in addition, I know those comments that Mr. Thomas made, that it's possible if we do this as a digital screen, that it also show the routine, some of the events that happen in our community as people walking and see past and present as well. So if the council is okay with this referral, then innovative ways to display that outside the chamber. Ms. Vieira, you have the floor.
I think that's a great idea to come my support now.
Thank you very much.
So the two different monitors, one from past.
I'm not sure, that should be up to the staff. They can figure out, this could be multiple monitors in front and on the side, and that's something, but I'm not too sure. I don't know the space and availability that we have.
Or the sitting five for the monitor past. I just want clarification.
Well, I mean, I think this is open, I mean, so the conversation, if we had two locations, one for city council members and mayors. I know you kind of wait for direction, so I mean, what if we find the locations, kind of tell us where the possible locations could be, whether it be one monitor or two monitors. Instead of guessing, that makes sense. Oh, Mr. Casey, my apologies, go ahead, sir. Yeah, of course.
Sure, a couple of things. I guess to come forward with the cost. This and in the definition of mayor, I think we've only had, they're the third elected mayor. The other mayors were board and councilmen that were voted on, they're voting 1 year at a time. So we can have them.
Yeah, anybody that is considered the mayor,
I think it's right. No, and maybe you're the fourth one there.
Maybe asking me for it.
You know what?
Well,
You do. Boss, and then, I think you're really fine. What, you know, the definition of the mayor.
So I would add that, I had a quick conversation with someone from the sort of fact that I would be interested in. Digging into information on the student career, also have some information as well.
My comment, I would support that there was very little cost and very little staff. So
I agree. At first, the idea was to have portraits, but I mean, we're just 2020, there's no not necessarily to display all the portraits of all council members and mayors, so I thought it'd be a better idea to have a team bring. They rotate this, and you go to other city, they have a display of events and also. Things that happen there, really, we don't have. Really one month, bring this to. We're here, there's no.
I don't think we can bring back a cost projection to see what it would cost for the
I
water.
think it's important.
And then, yeah, and staff plan. See where we go from there.
Yes, I think this is a good idea. This is where, this is $100,000 or probably.
Yeah, hopefully 5 foot that one.
I agree. Okay, the other direction of the house. That covers 15 and 16. Moving on to reports. The only report that I have is that the South Modesto Business United, and they have a single mile parade, and they have asked me to be the grand marshal of the parade on May 6th. So I encourage you, everybody here and the city members to participate in the parade, especially the city council, it'd be great to get there as well. That's your gonna be, I think you said, speak there during that time, then I can totally understand that. And that is the only report that I have. Going to the city council, we'll start with the way.
I just wanted to report that the extravaganza. Yes, look, the time was a big turnout. That's where a council member here for helping me in my pushing the peace proposal, especially the bike from Rock Bike, a lot of that cost us a lot. The event overall was that's I look forward to.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I guess a little bit of question, I guess, for the city attorney, which I guess addressed you again. Your comments that you mentioned about languages and posting things in languages, and making sure we're compliant with the bill. And state law, I just want to know if there's any steps that we need to do in terms of referrals or we should ever see compliant with state law. And then whether you know, maybe we can count the number here, maybe go to that and then staff solution. Okay, and do we need to be that, have that on future agenda? I don't believe so, and I think that there's some the technical aspect of there's some visual languages that visual problems. So I'll have to check in on this.
That sounds like one of the thing. Yeah, that's more for. And that's for information different.
Yeah, I don't remember when Assembly Bill, when it's mentioned that it's required. It needs to be posted. And then, as for comments, I'll go through this as quickly as possible, because it can be painful. The job fair is coming up July 6th. They posted regarding information. I'm glad I was able to connect with our economic development Tamara, she's going to be handling the booths and to gather more information. April 1st, I will participate in walk on mountain shoes. Probably can be part to address the problem we have in the community. Our upcoming economic development action committee is April 27th at 4 p.m. I have gotten the exact location of the meeting, but it's usually on scenic in Oakdale. If anyone wants to participate in the annual SIDS, which is the comprehensive economic development strategies, as well as the Karen Cost 2030 investment grant that will be reviewed. Tuesday the 23rd will be our fourth month of the small business workshop here. Still open, it's an open access as you need information for small businesses.
The English one is in Trello, the Spanish one is here, offer students, dental equity partners, we will offer the three. Information regarding how to get to the point of pulling permits, so that way you can come in and get your permit properly, making sure it's correct, so you have your business in line. I also connected this week with Quick Connect regarding offering low cost internet to Colony Park and District. If money is approved through the PUC, the Public Commission, the Utilities Commission, it would improve, it cover the overall network installation to access low cost internet and to those that qualify in the park. And I'm happy to announce we also have free tax assistance preparation is now being offered in partnership with United Way here at the community center. And there's a few this week, and it'll also be on Saturday, they're here tomorrow, Thursday and Friday this week, and then there'll be Friday in April, and then one day in May. There's a flyer in the lobby form. Do the emergency declaration, everyone can come test. Give the extensions, and there's really no excuse, but stop by. Thank you, Joey, and your staff are working on those dates, and it's kind of getting that taken care of. But I appreciate how quickly you were and helping us all get that taken care of. As for the youth, I attended the PKB Beaver Magnet School Leadership Day, and went to the classroom each raise money and learn to start community projects from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade with variety of projects, raising approximately $1,000 for each of the nonprofit organizations, and I appreciate the those students there at the school. Central Valley also has an athletic fundraiser coming up on the 22nd of this month at Avatar Arena. Please reach out to the school for more information. We got a drug awareness town hall that'll be here April 25th at 5 p.m. here in the community center. Fentanyl issues will be addressed. Easter event, as Martinez had mentioned, was amazing. And thank you, Daniel, for inviting the Easter Bunny. And I hope you have a connection for next year, and hopefully I look forward to having your friend join us again. Also wanted to do a quick thank you again for Joey and his team for helping me with the summer arts program grant. I'm hoping that Joseph will be able to finalize that grant so we can have an additional project and activity for our youth this summer. Joey is staff very additional aids trying to get that grant taken care of. As for community, we have the La Modesto April 29th. We have a variety of projects still available. We're still looking for project leads. I'll be at Serious Partnership for Healthy Families to help reopen the playground that's been closed for over a year for preschoolers. I'm also working with Serious Partnership for Yokolas to offer a free community event on mental health awareness on May 11th here at the community center. Alejandro from Telemundo has a group 2 MC the program, and Boulder Valley will give you free blood pressure, diabetes free, and seductive information. Skip that. As for the air quality meeting that I was reported to last week, we actually have a meeting on the second, both in person and on Zoom. If someone would like to join me or watch online, feel free to join and watch the things that are going on. And then last, I just wanted to quickly touch on the homeless and unsheltered. I know I reached out to Alex already regarding some conversations I've had about being sheltered and some serious illnesses that we've had here in the area here in our city. I do have a meeting coming out with the supervisor of content to discuss further about the steps we can take to address that. Thank you.
It's a lot to take in. Keep on doing great work. It's easy to get it comes.
Sure. My report has to do with agencies that are helping citizens here in Sirius. The support services for veterans found a homeless family that had been staying in a broken down camper behind a liquor store here in Sirius. And I won't go into the whole details of this report, but the bottom line was that they, with other agencies, were able to get these people. It started in September 2022, and by January the 17th, 2023, they were living and on their way to somewhat normal life. The sad part about the report, it talks about all the agencies that help, but our city still is driving to reach out and help homeless people, and we're not mentioning this report, but at least someone's looking out for people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to city manager reports.
attended the informal swearing in today for Lieutenant Hudson and Sergeant Blau, so congratulations. And then there's one again, this morning, was fortunate to be Sergeant Blount, and as uniform is you mentioned that.
Thank you very much. That's all. Any of the department heads? Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, we lost one of our firefighters, and tomorrow we're going to service for Fire Captain Dolan McCullough. During that time, all Modesto fire personnel will be attending the services, and will be covered by outside agency. Covering Sirius tomorrow, be an agent from Fresno, which will be covering downtown Station 15 or Station 1. Merced will be covering the station on Falcon, and in the company from Folk Living will be covering Station 2. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Anybody else from the other department heads? So no, and watch it, the attorney. In Mr. Crown, comments online, and we do have a resident here today in the back. You waited very patiently. I thought you were going to go with the data and stuff. 3 hours. Thank you very much.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, community, thank you. My name is Kevin Otto, the members of the district Congressman, real quick update this past week. Congressman awarded have the opportunity to meet with Health Bank San Joaquin. And this is an ongoing affordability crisis. Congressman awarded remains committed to ensuring that each and every American has access to quality health care and does not break the bank. This past week, Congressman awarded 4 Modesto Junior Colleges to discuss the importance of junior colleges, how far can be supported for the mission and the local impact that AC has developed. He was also able to join the Assembly member out east, serving up on the field to near that for Discovery Night last week. This beneficial to the constituents. Department board was also the same spot county laws within the meeting at the Series Meeting Center. We appreciate the city's and Chief Paul for that opportunity. Thank you for your time and for working with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now adjourn this meeting and go to closed session for conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. California Government Code Section 54956. The name of the case is National Prescription Public Litigation, United States Supreme Court, Northern District of Ohio, Eastern Division, case number 117 and P24. The conference with negotiators, California Government Code Section 54576A, agency designated representative of the city manager, Alex Baraka, and Human Resources Director, Delana Vasquez, proposed organization for State Police Officers Association, first line supervisor, confidential bargaining, labor to the International Union of North America, Loina, and mid managers, bargaining, public safety managers. If anyone from the public that would like to speak in regard to the closed session item. After closed session, I will return to the report out. Moving on to closed session. Reporting out on the first item on the closed session. 5-0 vote to yes to proceed with litigation. On the second item for the closed session, there's nothing to report out. Thank you.